everybody. It's Erin Carol Manning, owner of Gentle Giraffes Newborn Care and Family Services. Today we are here with Dr. Bonnie Wims of Wims and Associates. Thank you so much for joining us, Bonnie.
Thank you. Happy to be here, Erin.
It's always great to see you. I love just talking with you, no matter what we talk about. Even before I started recording, we were just talking about how inept I am at technology. But all the way to just talking to you about what you do and how you help people with, severe and mild mental illness. So tell me a little bit about how things have been going during the pandemic with your business and just, probably the collective energy that's kind of out there.
Yeah. I think, it's so interesting to think about this time, because I think years from now, we're going to be looking back on this time and there's going to be so much information and good studies maybe that'll come of it and how people have managed during this time. And everybody's, managing their own way. And it largely depends on your support network. And, if you happen to be somebody like me with a online therapy practice who just is lucky to have had a business model that works during COVID versus somebody who isn't able to work or has lost their job or that sort of thing. So I think it varies across the spectrum, but I was just talking to somebody today who has a history of anxiety, who has definitely been struggling and is finding this time even more difficult. And I think the word that I keep hearing about from people is uncertainty, because, things are looking better and then shut back down, or spikes. And I think we all heard this was going to happen, but it's a different thing when it's reality, right? So school opens, school closes. I was just watching on the news of a couple countries that are going to be shutting down, France and Germany. And so just thinking about, so they've had spikes and, they're going to kind of pull it all back again. And I think that's really, really hard on us and our mental wellness. It's like an inconsistent parent. Like if you're not consistent with the message and there isn't sort of a progression that we can all see and that we're working toward, I just feel the dips, the ups and downs are really, really hard for people to manage. And especially if they have any history of anxiety or just a difficult sort of experience with their mental health in the past. So I have seen quite a bit of varying, responses to it. Some people remarkably doing quite well. I think in the early days, some people with anxiety told me they were doing well because they're like, this is everything we've always worried about, and it's here. It kind of confirmed their worries. But not so much but not so much anymore. I think it's because it's kind of lingered and it's going on, and now we're getting, the winter and darkness, which is, a problem for some people anyway. It's just things are compounding, and I think it's definitely really difficult for people. And my advice to people is really keep an eye on yourself and your loved ones. And if you do find that you're not bouncing back the way that you would expect, or that you're starting to lose sleep or have trouble with your appetite, or anything that starts to kind of trickle out into your regular life, speak to somebody, whether or not it's your doctor or seeking therapy or talking to a friend, but really pay attention to your symptoms, because they're serious. It's hard right now, and we can really help each other, support each other through this.
Absolutely. It is really hard, even for people who are doing well too. I mean, nobody, like you said, we're uncharted territories, or at least we haven't really had, this for about 100 years, but obviously the world was in a much different place too. But people who are doing well are kind of uncertain. I know with my business, people are thinking twice about if they're going to hire somebody. And it's not so much because of the virus. It's because they also want to keep check of themselves and make sure they're okay, because they don't know what's going to happen in the future too.
Yeah. I mean, across the board, financial concerns, all kinds of things. It's just, we're not built to not be around each other. We're not built not to have a social life and to be hugged and, to have all of that sort of people contact. We're social. We're born that way, and we're relational. We need each other. Studies have shown that for years, that on animals, where it's just, you can't live just with food and water. You need each other, and you need the emotional support of that. And so I think that is particularly hard for some people too, if they're living alone, or if they're living with somebody they don't like so much.
Oh my goodness.
That's not my situation. I was not dropping a hint about my husband. I love him very much. But some people aren't actually. Maybe it's the worst time to be locked in with somebody, or it could be a dangerous situation. So yeah, it's really it's case by case. But I think collectively in the atmosphere is anxiety, and it's justified. And so that's, once again, I say, is people really need to pay attention to that and get yourself help if you find that it's really starting to impact your life. Yeah.
Yep. And even for, I'm sure you probably have seen some moms who are postpartum at this point too in COVID. And it's even harder for them because they already feel locked up because they have a newborn. And then on top of it, they really can't go anywhere. Like, even if they wanted to kind of get out, but because they're so nervous with the newborn, it's really become, they feel very, isolated, and more so because they can't even get to like the grocery store kind of thing.
All the things that you would recommend to somebody who is experiencing maybe some postpartum is that to make sure you're reaching out, make sure you're not isolating, make sure you get out of the house. If you're going for a walk, and some of that's doable, absolutely, but it's just harder. It's harder. And I think if I was a mother of a newborn right now, or pregnant, I think, it just changes your perspective, because now it's just not me that I have to worry about, and that you want to do the right thing by your child. And then, like everything else, it's on top of what normal anxiety about having a baby. You work with this all the time, the normal anxiety of pregnancy and the birth, the normal anxiety of newborn. And you were just talking about sleep training. All of that stuff is already up here. This is already a major event in their lives. And then you just slap this COVID on top of it. And it really pushes people to their limit, I think. So once again, why I think something like what you do is so special, because you need a steady hand. You need somebody to come in that was really going to just kind of, been there, done that. Let's, we'll get through this. This is okay. I've been here before.
Well, that's kind of what I was doing with this sleep training client that I had last night and through the day. So I don't think but I offer 3 different kind of levels of packages, and they got the one that is like tips and tricks to like a better sleep hygiene, basically, because the baby's kind of too young to really sleep train, but you can help them get into like a routine and kind of tweak a couple of different things. So even last night when I told the mom to put the baby down, he's overtired. It's going to take him a little bit longer, and when I walked in, the mom was like distraught because the baby took longer than it normally does, even though we were changing some things. And as you know, change is hard no matter what age you are. But by the time I left today, and even at like maybe 15, 20 minutes ago, the entire life of this baby and mom has changed, because the baby has now on a better routine. We tweak certain things, and she's like, feels that weight of anxiety lifted off, that she has something that she can look forward to. She knows it's not a hard path, but it wasn't an easy path either for her to get to where we are, the last less than 24 hours. And it wasn't used, we used more of a gentle form of just changing some things. And she was ecstatic that she was able to put her baby down, and in with 5 minutes, he was asleep,
And you bring up such a good point. And first of all, that's a testament to you and your knowledge and your ability. So that's amazing. I wish I'd had you around when my children were young, but you're younger than me, so that probably wouldn't have worked out. But anyway, but you bring up such a good point. I think sometimes when we're feeling whatever, anxious or worried, or we think that big things have to change. And actually, it's in the small things, isn't it? Tweak a few small things and you've got a different result. It's the same thing within us. It's like sometimes it just takes a little bit of a realization that you're struggling with something, maybe a couple conversations with somebody where they validate your concerns. I'm sure you do that with moms all the time, with parents, is validate their concern, let them feel heard, and then make those maybe small changes. And then some of it's the self-talk, isn't it? The worry self-talk, I always call it the sort of those thinking traps where they talk about where a mind read, or I can't get my baby to sleep, so I'm a terrible mother, or, just that kind of language that you use with yourself.
Yes. I mean, I hear it all the time. They're like, what am I doing wrong? And I have to tell women all the time that, they're not when it's coming from a place of love, they're not doing anything wrong. There's just certain things that we can do. Like, one of the things we did last night is we changed the volume on the sound machine, and she was like, you did what? And he's doing what? Like, something as small as that. Not everybody knows you have to find the right loudness for each baby, and it's different. But most parents aren't going to know that because they don't deal with as much babies as I do.
Yeah. Well, that's see what you're just talking about there. Sorry if you can hear that siren. The thought that you're doing something wrong, and I meet people all the time who, if they seek out therapy, feel like they've failed. Yeah. And that's just, if I could stand on a street corner with a sign, that would be the one. It's not a failure. It's actually such a brave and important step to be able to ask for help. I mean, nobody puts us through training on how to raise a baby, how to raise a child. You get pregnant and all of a sudden, oh, okay, I'm going to be a mom, I'm going to be a dad, but nobody tells us how to put them to sleep. Nobody gives us, you can have little classes you take and those kind of things. But if things aren't going well, that sense of having failed, or I'm doing something wrong. It's just, that's the thing. That's the really detrimental self-talk that I think could then lead to, more thoughts of depression or postpartum, or just a sense of just not feeling confident in your parenting skills, right? Yeah.
Because if you're not feeling, especially in a state that we're in too with COVID, that if you're not feeling confident in something as close as parenting, someone like those small little things, you're not going to feel really confident with everything else that's kind of going around, because that's more uncertain than, the child kind of thing. So it's tough for everybody. I'm sure
it really is. It really is.
Lots of patients over the years too who have had some like anxieties or mood disorders and stuff because they were postpartum. What are for a woman or a mom or even a dad, because at this point there's at least 10% of dads who are getting postpartum depression or a mood disorder or something too. In the era that we're in with COVID and everything like that, what are some of the top 3 things that you would recommend, a mom or a dad that has a newborn and kind of going through the time that we're going through that would be helpful to them? I know that was a long question.
Well, it's good. I'm like, get to the question. No, I'm just kidding. First of all, I'd recommend you, because I would recommend that you get help. Like, you ask questions, that you get someone to support you. I think this idea that we can do it all ourselves, and that if we don't, somehow we failed. I remember when I had my first child, I was a single mother, and I think I've told you this, where I just would end up walking around I was like a pack mule, So I had the baby and the diaper bag and my purse, and then of course, I'll get groceries too. Why not? And so pretty soon then when I met my now husband, we'd be walking out of somewhere and he would just start laughing and say, do you want me to, can I carry anything? Like, it didn't even come into my mind to ask for help. Like, here's this person standing next to me and I've got 20 things on my arms just up and down. So I think that's the number one thing, is that somehow there's like this sense that it's a badge of honor to do it alone, or that to suffer in silence. Or, you think about, we've talked about this, but the mother who's gone through birth, which is, we don't pay much attention to the trauma of that, depending, even if it goes really well, it's still trauma. And then, she's brought home this little package, and then this little package doesn't sleep and screams, and you don't quite know what you're doing. And so our expectations of ourselves are so ridiculously high, with absolutely no training or no real knowledge of what we're doing. I mean, some parents, obviously, third, fourth, fifth one around, you get better. But so number one is ask for help and support. And gosh, if you're a spouse of somebody that's having a hard time, that your role there, it's got to be to really recognize that, and then to help them recognize that there's nothing wrong here. Once again, they're not doing anything wrong. So I think I would recommend talking, getting help, even if you start with just telling a friend. Just tell a friend, I'm kind of having a hard time here. I went through what I now say was probably postpartum with my second child, and I can see the reasons why. I'd moved away from my mother. I had the child in another state, didn't know anybody, had to switch doctors in the middle of pregnancy, just thought, oh, well, that's fine. I'm fine. And then I have this baby, I come home and I'm just sad. And you just like, what is wrong with me? I'm holding this gorgeous baby who's healthy and everything went fine. And I would just cry in the mornings. And I recognize it now. I just, and I did not seek help. I talked to my husband about it. He didn't, he's not getting any sleep. He's feeling just as unsure about things. Neither one of us knew what to do for the other one. So seeking out help, be kind to yourself, recognize that this is a hard thing. I know millions of people do this every day, but it's still a hard thing. It's a really hard thing that we're asking of ourselves. I have a brand new granddaughter who is just about 10 months old. And to watch my son and daughter-in-law kind of go through all of this new stuff, and just recognizing, I just keep telling them, it's fine. You're going to trial and error, you'll figure it out. And they are, but you just know those beginning stages where people are scared, they're anxious, they want to keep this thing alive, and they don't really know what they're doing. Or if they do, even that, every child's different. Every child has a different volume on the thing, right?
Yep.
So I think it's about reaching out. It's about being kind to yourself and knowing your limits, and just knowing when enough's enough and I need help. I need Aaron to come teach my child how to sleep.
Yeah, definitely.
That's simple.
Do that. It's that simple. Yes. Just reach out to me. Yeah.
Yeah. But postpartum's the real deal. It's not something to mess around with. It's not something that, just, let me just hang out and wait and I'll get over this. You can and will improve. There's absolutely no reason why you won't. But it's like anything else with your mental wellness. It's sometimes the support is exactly what you're looking for. And if you have it in your mind that you shouldn't be asking, then you're cutting yourself off from the very thing that you need.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, most likely.
Yeah.
But we usually tell ourselves we're fine and we don't need anything, no matter what's going on. That's kind of one of the society things that we do, where, although over the years it's getting better to reach out for help too. So it's nice to talk more about it as well. So is there anything else that you would recommend to, moms, dads, during this time, or just people in general?
I think in working with people who have any sort of challenge as far as, their mental health right now, I think just the number one thing that I wish there was a bit more public service announcements about it, is just telling people that, of course you're feeling this way. Yeah. I was talking to somebody today about anxiety, and I was just like, let's think about what's happening right now on top of your regular life. And I don't know anybody that doesn't have something anxiety worth even without COVID. So of course you may be feeling something. If you know somebody or you yourself are experiencing it, and it's gone on now for quite some time, because I mean, think about it. We've been dealing with this, in a real way since March. And we most likely will be dealing with it for a while after this. Yeah. So forever. But if you know somebody or you yourself are experiencing some symptoms that are troublesome to you, like once again, that are preventing you from living your life the way that you normally would, or, doing the activities that you know that you love, then it's something to take seriously. And it doesn't have to be therapy, although obviously I'm partial because I give that.
Right.
But I just think number one is recognizing it and reaching out. And so with that's your friend, that's your mom, it's your partner, it's your sister, speak to somebody and let them know you're feeling low. And sometimes just that validation, starts you on the process of feeling better, because at least I always tell people there's a research, there was a research project that went on in London where they discovered that people got better, their mental health got better just by being on a waiting list. And so there's lots of like, well, how come? Like they didn't get any actual therapy. And then by the time their number came up, they're like, I'm good now. And that's not everybody, and it's not universal, but the people that said that, it was because internally they gave themselves the gift of saying, I need something and I'm going to go get it. I'm going to ask for the help. And there's something for your psyche then to say, I deserve help. I deserve to address this. This is not something that I should just put up with, or I'm not worthy of getting the help. So I think that's kind of the lesson learned there is give yourself what you need. And just that action in itself will start the improvement.
Absolutely. Yes. It's a whole mindset thing that they're like, I'm here, I'm going to get the help that I need. And the body probably just relaxes and is like, okay, great. And then maybe they can actually work on whatever was because they've let their guard down a little bit so that they can allow whatever work to fix, whether it is finally getting their number called or something else, changes in them. And so that they're feeling better.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the saying that I'm going to take this seriously and I'm going to get myself what I need. And there, instead of that internal argument that says, I'm fine, I'll just soldier through, nothing's really wrong here. And if I did ask for help, that means I'm weak. Just think of all that negative self-talk and how that does not lead to good outcomes. So that internal argument, that's where I'm just saying you're really hurting yourself by not just acknowledging it. And it's not weak and it's not a failure. It's actually the bravest thing you can do.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Bonnie, for joining us this evening. Can you just tell us a little bit where people can find you?
Sure. Well, I'm virtual, so I'm everywhere. That's scary, right? Therapists are everywhere. But because I'm virtual, I do, I can obviously work with people on a much more flexible basis. So my email is bonnie@wimsandassociates.com. And my website's, there's lots of ways to find it, but it's basically my name, Bonnie Wims, Dr. Bonnie Wims. I'm on all the social platforms, Dr. Bonnie Wims. It'd be hard not to find me, I think, actually.
Well, yeah, you can find you on our social medias too, because you are one of our sponsors for our expo, which I'm so excited about. So again,
me too. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us. And always, it's a pleasure having and talking to you.
You too. Thanks, Erin.